Hey, Blazer Tales. Oh, I got such a good one for you today. This is Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. Guys, this book, I hope I can get through the first chapter, and I might read two. I kind of slipped there because I can't read just one chapter. But I hope I can get through this without like tears coming because this book is so amazing. I'm not going to do a book review on this. 'Cause I'll do that in a different video. This is just the first chapter Friday reading. It might be the first chapter or two Friday reading because it's so good. Let me get my glasses on real quick so I can read. Oh, let me share my screen so you're not just looking at me. Hang on just a second. Let me share my screen so you can see. Hang on a second. Let me make it big so you can see. Okay, so there is Jacqueline Woodson. That's the author, and there's the cover of the book. This is Harbor Me. We think they took my puppy. It's over now. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe even as I sit on my bed in the dying light of the late afternoon, it's beginning again. Maybe Miss Laverne is looking over the new class list, her fingers moving down the row of names. Maybe her, she is thinking, and him, and her. But it won't be the same. It won't ever be the six of us together again. We think they took my poppy. My uncle is a musician and a storyteller. He says the hardest part of telling a story is finding the beginning. I've pulled the voice recorder from my closet and I have it sitting in the middle of the bed now. When I press play, Esteban's voice fills my room. It is scratchy and far away sounding, but still, Esteban is here again. And all of us are sitting in our small circle in a place we call the art room. Nobody knows where he's at. Outside, a blue jay perches on the edge of a branch. An anthelus tree, tree of heaven. Miss Laverne taught us that. It's the same tree the girl in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn saw from her fire escape. The thing about that tree is it could grow anywhere and keep growing. And that was the metaphor. That even when things got really hard for everybody in that story, even when the dad died and the mom had to scrub more and more floors to make money, even when the kids didn't have anything to eat for days and the apartment was freezing, that tree kept growing. The main character, her name was Francie. She was like that tree. Miss Laverne said that all of us, Esteban, Tiago, Holly, Amari, Ashton, and even me, we're like that tree too. My uncle is moving out tomorrow. He's really the only parent I've ever known. He says, this is a new beginning. He says, now you'll have two houses to go to. He says, you're 12 now, Haley. You're ready. But I'm not ready. This afternoon, I miss everything. I miss my uncle, even though he is upstairs packing. I miss the art room. I miss Holly and Amari arguing and Ashton pushing his hair away from his forehead. This afternoon, I miss Tiago's dreams of the sea and Esteban's poems and all the stories we finally trusted each other to tell, enough to tell. I miss the beginning of our story together and the deep middle of it. Once there were six of us. Once we circled around each other and listened. Or maybe what matters most is that we were heard. Downstairs, my father is playing the piano, soft, sad notes floating up from the living room. The piano is old, found on the street a few blocks away the day my father moved back home. My father, uncle, and three other men lifted it up the stairs. Then they had to remove the door to get it inside. It's an upright, scratched wood and yellowing keys. My father took a whole day tuning it, and now the notes move through the house, dipping down at the end like tears, rising up like prayers. Upstairs, I can hear my uncle moving from dresser to bed and back again, and I know he is neatly folding shirts and sweaters into his suitcase. Most of his stuff is already downstairs. Boxes line the hall by the front door. His favorite chair is draped with a blanket. His guitars are stacked in their cases beside it. Tomorrow he will move to Manhattan and start his new life. I'll be the bachelor I was always meant to be, he said. Then, seeing the look on my face, I failed at hiding, he added. And I'll be back every single Sunday to spend time with my most favorite person in the world. I don't remember a life without my uncle in it. In 2 weeks, I'll begin seventh grade. My best friend Holly will be there, but there will be holes where Ashton, Amari, Tiago, and Esteban once were. We think they took my Poppy. I play the first words of Esteban's story over and over as my father's song lifts up to my room, as my uncle packs above me, as the blue jay perches in the antlerless tree, and as the world keeps on spinning. That's into chapter 1, but I told you I got to read chapter 2. Just one more. That first week of September, the rain wouldn't stop. Rivers ran down along the curbs and at the corner near our school. Cars had stalled in the middle of the huge pools of rainwater. Even though it was still warm outside, our classroom felt damp and a little bit cold. Some of the kids were playing with those spinner things. One boy, whose name I forgot, had his head down on his desk. I remember his dark curls, the way they fell over his arm. For some reason, those curls spiraling over his arm and down onto the scratched up desk made me sadder than anything. There were 8 of us then. Our small class had come together because the school wanted to try something new. Could they put 8 kids together in a room with one teacher and make something amazing? 8 special kids. Even though they didn't say it, we knew there was something different about us. We had all been in the big classrooms before, and our learning felt like a race we were losing while other kids sped ahead. We made believe we didn't care that we learned differently, but we knew we did. And the school knew we did. The school knew we got laughed at and teased in the big yard, and some days we faked stomach aches and sore throats to stay home. It was only September, so no one knew if this experiment would work. But our teacher, Miss Laverne, was tall and soft spoken and patient. We loved her immediately, and the school itself had huge windows and brightly colored walls. My uncle said it was one of the best schools in the city. I had been there with Holly since first grade, so I didn't really have any other schools to compare it to. But if nice teachers and rooms filled with sunlight made something the best, then I guess it was true. By the end of that rainy week, the boy with the curls had moved away, and another girl's mom had come in and fussed about her daughter being smarter than those children, while Miss Laverne shushed her and guided and her daughter gently out of the room. The girl looked like she wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. We never saw her again, but sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if she had gotten the chance to be part of the art room, if she had gotten to hear what we heard, see what we saw. After she and the curly-haired boy left, only Miss Laverne and the 6 of us remained. An hour after class started on that Friday, Esteban came in, his head down, his hair slicked wet against his forehead, his Yankees cap dripping with rain. He walked straight to his seat without looking at the rest of us. I watched him sink into his seat so sadly and heavily. It felt like the whole room shivered. His jacket was way too big for him, the shoulders hanging down his arms, the sleeves falling over his hands. I didn't know Esteban yet. I didn't really know anyone but Holly, really. But I wanted to go over and hug him hard. I didn't care how dripping wet he was. No one should ever have to look that sad. Do you have a late pass for me, Esteban? Miss Laverne had asked. She was standing at the front of the room, her arm stretched out towards the smart board. I don't remember what was on it. Maybe a globe? Our tiny group that year was a fifth, sixth grade class. This, too, was a school experiment. Is everything okay? Miss Laverne's dark brown face was crisscrossed with worry. Esteban shook his head. I don't have a pass, he said, his voice breaking. We think they took my Poppy. Nobody knows where he's at. He put his head down on the desk, his face turned toward the window. Miss Laverne went over to Esteban's desk and bent toward him, her hand on his back. They spoke softly to each other. Maybe they spoke for 5 minutes. Maybe it was an hour. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. So much can change in a minute, an hour, a year. Oh my goodness, I just want to keep on reading. This book is so amazing. Let me stop sharing my screen. So go, do not miss this. Do not miss this. Go get this book, read this book. It is amazing. Read it to your class. I will have all the links in this video, links to my book talk, links to my first chapter or Friday, my novel study coloring sheets, my novel study PowerPoint that when you're reading with your class, you can have for kind of like trivia questions. So Jacqueline Woodson's Harbor Me, do not miss it. I will see you in the next book book, guys. Happy reading.